He took poisoned arrows for an alien child, woke 50 years later to her kneeling as their queen. The desert wind carried whispers of war as Captain Marcus Thorne surveyed the barren landscape of Azurian 7. 3 years into humanity's first interstellar conflict, he'd seen enough bloodshed to last a dozen lifetimes. The Azurian forces had been relentless, pushing Earth's colonial forces back system by system. But Marcus had never expected to find himself standing in the ruins of what appeared to be a civilian settlement. Smoke rose from collapsed structures made of crystalline material that shimmered even in destruction. Bodies lay scattered, blue-skinned beings with elegant features and silver hair. The Azurians, his enemy. Yet something about the scene made his stomach turn. These weren't soldiers. They were families. "Captain, we should move," his lieutenant urged, weapon raised. "Intel says there's an Azurian patrol." A sound cut through the air. A whimper. Marcus's head snapped toward a partially collapsed dwelling. Against every protocol, every instinct honed by years of combat, he moved toward it. "Sir, we don't have time." "I heard something." Marcus pushed aside a fallen beam, peering into the darkness. Two enormous violet eyes stared back at him from a small, terrified face. A child. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 in human years, her blue skin smudged with ash, her ornate golden dress torn and dirty. She spoke in her native tongue, words Marcus didn't understand, but fear needed no translation. He extended his hand slowly, the way he'd once coaxed his own daughter from beneath her bed during thunderstorms. That was before the war, before the transport carrying his family had been destroyed in an Azurian raid. The child hesitated, then reached for him with a small, trembling hand. That's when Marcus heard it, the distinctive whistle of Terran arrows slicing through air. His own people. He looked up to see 3 soldiers from a rival faction, deserters who'd become little more than raiders, drawing their bows. They'd coated their arrows with Vorpax venom, a poison that killed slowly and agonizingly. Time seemed to slow. The child looked up at him with those impossibly large eyes, filled with trust she had no reason to give. In that moment, she reminded him so much of his daughter, innocent, helpless, depending on him to keep her safe. He'd failed once. He wouldn't fail again. Marcus pulled the child against his chest and turned his back to the archers. The first arrow struck between his shoulder blades. The second pierced his lower back. The third embedded itself in his shoulder. White-hot agony exploded through his body as the venom began its work, racing through his bloodstream like liquid fire. He heard shouting, his lieutenant returning fire, the sharp crack of plasma weapons. Then hands were pulling at him, voices urgent and fading. "Captain, Captain, stay with us. The poison, it's Vorpax. There's no antidote. Get him to cryo. It's the only chance." Marcus's vision blurred. He felt the child being pulled from his arms and tried to protest, but his voice wouldn't work. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was her face, tears streaming down blue cheeks, her small hand reaching for him as soldiers carried her away. Then nothing. Warmth. Light. The hiss of pressurized air. Marcus's eyes fluttered open to blinding white light. His body felt strange, heavy yet somehow new, as if he'd been sleeping for ages. Medical equipment surrounded him, but it wasn't the field hospital he remembered. This technology was far more advanced, sleek, and elegant in design. "Easy, Captain Thorne." A calm voice spoke in perfect English. "You've been in cryogenic suspension for 50 years. Your body needs time to adjust." 50 years. His voice came out as a croak. "The Vorpax venom was too advanced in your system. Cryosleep was the only option. We've treated the poison, but the process took decades." "I'm sorry." Marcus's mind reeled. 50 years. Everyone he knew would be old or dead. The war. What had happened to the war? As if reading his thoughts, the doctor, an elderly human with kind eyes, continued. The war ended 43 years ago. Peace was achieved, largely thanks to... He paused. Well, you'll see. The door opened. Marcus tried to sit up, then froze. She entered like dawn breaking over a dark world, tall and regal, her blue skin radiant with health, her silver hair cascading over shoulders draped in robes of midnight blue embroidered with gold. The simple dress of a frightened child had been replaced by the unmistakable regalia of royalty. But the eyes, those same enormous violet eyes, looked at him with an expression that made his heart ache. She crossed the room and, to his utter shock, knelt beside his medical bed. Zaya. The name came to him from somewhere, a word he'd heard her whisper 50 years ago. You remember. Her English was flawless, touched with an accent that sounded like music. Tears glistened in her eyes. You saved my life that day, Marcus Thorne. You took poisoned arrows meant for a child you had every reason to hate. A child of the enemy who had taken your own family. How did you? I learned everything about you. I made it my life's purpose. She took his hand gently. That day, when you chose mercy over vengeance, when you chose my life over your own safety, you changed everything. The soldiers who witnessed it spoke of your sacrifice. The story spread through both our peoples. A human soldier dying to protect an Azurian child. It became a symbol. She smiled through her tears. I survived because of you. I was the daughter of the Azurian High Council's leader. When I told them what you did, my father began to question the war. He reached out to human diplomats. It took years, but your sacrifice planted the seed of peace. Marcus struggled to process this. In your Queen of the Azurian Empire, yes. I took the throne 10 years ago. She squeezed his hand. I've kept you safe all these years, Marcus. The moment our scientists developed the cure for Vorpax poisoning, I had you treated immediately. I've waited decades for this moment, to kneel before you as you once stood before those arrows for me. You're a queen, Marcus whispered. You shouldn't kneel to anyone. And you're a hero who should have been honored 50 years ago. Her voice was firm. The galaxy knows your name now, Marcus Thorne. Statues stand on both our worlds commemorating your sacrifice. But I needed to do this myself, to thank the man who saved a frightened child and, without knowing it, saved countless millions by ending a war. She stood, helping him sit up. Through the window, Marcus could see a city unlike anything he remembered. Human and Azurian architecture blended together, ships of both designs sharing the sky. Your sacrifice gave me a life, Zaius said softly. I've spent that life making sure it meant something. And now you have a new life too. A world where humans and Azurians work together. Where children of both our species play without fear. She met his eyes. Will you let me show you what your courage built? Marcus looked at the woman who'd once been a terrified child, now a queen who'd brought peace to the stars. He thought of his daughter, gone but not forgotten, and realized his sacrifice hadn't just saved one child. It had honored her memory by saving countless others. I'd be honored, Your Majesty. She smiled, radiant and warm. Please, Marcus, call me Zaya. After all, you're the reason I'm here to rule it all. As she helped him to his feet, Marcus understood that sometimes the greatest victories come not from the wars we fight, but from a mercy we show in the midst of battle. He'd taken those arrows for an innocent child. He'd awakened to find that small act of humanity had changed the entire galaxy. And it had all been worth it.